Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist is a super famous book about following your dreams. It came out in 1988 and made Coelho a global bestseller. His books have sold over 150 million copies. The Alchemist alone is a huge deal, translated into over 80 languages, a record for a living author, and often called one of the 20th century's top 10 books. Critics love it, saying it's a compelling story with deep wisdom about listening to your heart. It's like a fairy tale, but full of real-life insights, an adventure packed with magic and wisdom. The book is simple, direct, and has a message for everyone. Coelho himself says the book is a piece of his soul, his personal legend. He thinks it connects with so many because we're all searching for our own treasure, and the story helps people understand each other, no matter their background. Now, let's dive into the story itself. It's all about a young shepherd kid named Santiago, who's cruising across the Andalusian countryside in Spain with his sheep. Santiago isn't your average shepherd. He can actually read. He went to a seminary till he was 16. His parents were hoping he'd become a priest. But Santiago, he just really wanted to travel and see the world. And that desire won out in the end. And what's more, he has a really cool, special bond with his sheep. He truly believes they get what he's saying. So, he's always sharing his thoughts, what he sees, and even bits from the books he's reading with them. Then one day, Santiago starts having a dream over and over. So, he goes to a gypsy woman in a village nearby to figure out what it means. In the dream, a child keeps showing him the pyramids in Egypt, saying there's a hidden treasure waiting for him there. The gypsy woman is like, "Yep, that's it. You gotta go to the pyramids, find that treasure, and you'll be rich." But for her help, she wants a cut of whatever he finds. At first, Santiago's pretty annoyed. The interpretation seemed so obvious. He even decides he's done with believing in dreams after that encounter. A bit later, he's just chilling, reading in a plaza, and an old guy starts talking to him. Turns out, the old man is Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And here's the crazy part. Melchizedek knows all sorts of super personal stuff about Santiago, like his parents' names, the seminary he went to, even the name of a merchant's daughter Santiago had just met. Whoa! The old man tells Santiago about something called a personal legend. Basically, it's what a person has always truly wanted to do, and then he drops a major truth bomb. When a person truly wants something with all their heart, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Melchizedek goes on about the soul of the world, saying it gets fed by people's happiness. He says that going after your personal legend is your main job in life, and that, when it comes down to it, all things are one. He explains that he shows up when people are just about to give up on their personal legend, maybe as an idea or a solution. He even tells a story about helping a miner find an emerald right when the guy was ready to throw in the towel. So, Melchizedek tells Santiago to follow omens, which he says are like signs from God showing you the way. Then he asks for a tenth of Santiago's sheep. In return, he'll tell him where the treasure is. And yep, it's in Egypt, near the pyramids. Santiago's already promised the gypsy woman some, but he agrees, figuring everything in life has its price. The king also gives Santiago two cool stones, Urim and Thummim, to help him make decisions. He tells Santiago to start making his own choices and, super important, not to forget the language of omens. Before he leaves, the king shares a little story about a boy carrying oil on a spoon. The point is, the secret to happiness is to check out all the cool stuff in the world. But never forget your responsibilities, or the drops of oil on the spoon. That whole experience with Melchizedek really hits Santiago hard and seals the deal. He's going after that treasure. And, fun fact, Melchizedek totally guesses Santiago will forget his name super fast. To get the cash for his trip, Santiago sells his sheep. He's really attached to them, but he knows what they're worth and makes the sale. Then he heads off to Tangier, in Africa. But, right away, he gets robbed. All his money, gone, by some new guy who'd offered to be his guide. Rough start. The whole mess teaches Santiago that sometimes he sees the world in terms of what I would like to see happen, not what actually does. Good lesson, though, but he doesn't give up. Those stones Melchizedek gave him make him feel a bit better, and he finds a job with a crystal merchant to save up enough to keep going. He ends up working at the crystal shop for 11 months and 9 days. And while he's there, Santiago comes up with some great ideas. He's like, "Hey, let's clean up the dusty window display. And what if we sold tea in these pretty crystal glasses?" And guess what? It totally works. The merchant's business booms. The entire time teaches him about stuff like beginner's luck or the principle of favorability. But here's a twist. The crystal merchant, even with all his new success, admits he's scared to go after his own personal legend, a trip to Mecca. He's afraid if he actually does it, he won't have anything left to live for. That makes Santiago second-guess his own journey for a bit. But even with those doubts, Santiago decides to stick with his personal legend. He feels strength from Urim and Thummim, and the omens are all saying it's time to move on. He realizes Tangier taught him a universal language of excitement and purpose, and it makes him feel like he can take on the world. So, while he's getting ready to cross the desert, Santiago bumps into an Englishman at the caravan site. The Englishman is all about alchemy and the philosopher's stone, like super focused. He spent 10 years at university studying Esperanto, all kinds of religions, and a ton of old, rare alchemy books. He's looking for a real alchemist who supposedly lives at the Al-Fayoum Oasis. Rumor has it, the alchemist is 200 years old and can turn metal into gold. The Englishman. He's all about learning from books, a total theory guy. The caravan is huge, almost 200 people and 400 animals. There are women, kids, and even armed guards. They start a massive trek across the Sahara Desert. The caravan leader, he's the boss. No questions asked. He makes it super clear. Disobey, and you're dead. Everyone has to swear to follow his orders. As they travel, Santiago starts to change. He stops reading his book so much and starts really looking at the world around him, listening to the wind. He gets more and more in tune with the universal language of the world. He even ends up tossing his book because it just feels like extra weight. He learns from the Englishman that the soul of the world is what powers alchemy. The Englishman says it's a positive force that shows up when you want something with all your heart. He also finds out that the biggest deal in alchemy texts, the Emerald Tablet, is just a few lines written on an emerald. And those lines basically say that all things are the manifestation of one thing only. Santiago starts to get that the main goal of alchemy, purifying metals for the philosopher's stone, the solid bit that turns metal to gold, and the elixir of life, the liquid that cures sickness and stops aging, isn't just about changing stuff outside of you. It's also, big time, about purifying yourself. He figures these huge truths must be pretty simple if they can fit on an emerald, and that everyone learns in their own way. The Englishman's a bit bummed by Santiago's realization, still hoping for complicated secrets in his books. Things get dicier when tribal wars break out in the desert, so everyone's on high alert, and things are tense. Finally, the caravan makes it to the Al-Fayoum Oasis. It's a safe zone during the war, mostly full of women and kids. And there, Santiago meets Fatima, a woman of the desert, and bam, he falls head over heels in love. Their connection just makes him even surer that true love doesn't stop you from going after your personal legend. It actually makes it stronger. Fatima, with all the wisdom of desert women, knows that her man has to leave to come back, and she promises to wait for him while he's on his quest. Oh! And while he's at the oasis, Santiago scores 50 gold pieces from the tribal chief because he saw an attack coming by reading the omens in some hawks flying by. It's at the oasis that Santiago finally meets the alchemist. The alchemist just kind of appears, carrying dead hawks. Pretty dramatic entrance. He says the same thing the old king, Melchizedek, did. When a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his dream. He makes it clear he's not there to teach Santiago, but to guide him to his treasure, because, he says, Santiago already knows everything he needs to. Then the alchemist gives Santiago a challenge. Leave the comfy oasis, leave Fatima, and keep going after his personal legend. He warns him what'll happen if he gives up on his dream. He'll lose the omens, and he'll regret it big time later. He teaches Santiago a super important lesson. Wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. He tells Santiago to sell his camel calls at Traitorous and get a horse, because a horse will show you more clearly how much it can handle. The alchemist shows off how connected he is to the language of life by leading Santiago to a cobra in the desert, saying life attracts life, and reminding him the pyramids are out there in the desert. He tells Santiago the only way to learn is through action, and that his journey's already taught him everything. The alchemist explains that old-time alchemists who were just after gold failed because they weren't really living their personal legends. He says again that the Emerald Tablet is the key to the soul of the world, and that God made the world so we could understand spiritual stuff by looking at the things we can see. He tells Santiago to listen to his heart, because his heart knows all things, because it came from the soul of the world. and it will one day return there. So the alchemist gets Santiago ready for the biggest test yet. He explains that right before a dream comes true, the soul of the world tests everything you've learned, and that's when most people just give up. Things get really hairy when they're captured by some armed tribesmen who want all their gold. The alchemist uses their money to basically buy their freedom. But there's a catch. He tells the tribesmen that Santiago will turn himself into the wind in 3 days to show off his powers. Santiago is, totally terrified. But the alchemist tells him not to freak out, reminding him that the fear of failure is the only thing that makes a dream impossible. He tells Santiago again, listen to your heart. It knows all things because it came from the soul of the world. So, Santiago learns to deal with his heart's fears and really understand it. He figures out that our hearts are scared to chase dreams because they're scared of suffering. Through some serious meditation and by really connecting with the desert, the wind, and the sun, Santiago does something amazing. He connects with the soul of the world and realizes it's part of the soul of God, which is also his own soul. That understanding clicks, and suddenly he can do miracles. And just like that, he turns himself into the wind for a bit. The tribesmen are blown away, literally and figuratively, and it proves his deep connection to the soul of the world. Incredible, right? After that mind-blowing event, Santiago and the alchemist keep going. They finally get to a Coptic monastery, pretty close to the pyramids. There, the alchemist shows his skills by turning a piece of lead into a gold disc, using just a tiny piece of the philosopher's stone. He splits the gold 4 ways, some for the monk for being so generous, some for Santiago to replace what the thieves took, some for himself, and an extra piece for Santiago just in case. He says it's based on a proverb. Everything that happens once can never happen again, but everything that happens twice will surely happen a third time, especially when it comes to losing your savings. Then the alchemist says goodbye to Santiago. He reminds him that he already knew the language of the world, and that every person on Earth plays a central role in the history of the world, even if they don't realize it. Santiago finally makes it to the Egyptian pyramids. The sight just makes him cry, tears of thanks for his amazing journey and everyone he met. He starts digging for his treasure at the bottom of a sand dune, just like in his dream. But then, oh no, he gets attacked by some refugees from the tribal wars. They beat him up and steal his last piece of gold. But then, something pretty wild happens. One of the guys, after roughing Santiago up, tells him that he had a recurring dream about treasure too. His dream said the treasure was buried in a ruined church back in Spain, where shepherds used to sleep with their sheep, and there was a sycamore tree growing out of the part where the altar used to be. Santiago instantly knows that place. It's the abandoned church where his whole journey started. That huge realization hits him. His treasure was back where he started all along. And right then, the wind, the levanter, blows in from the east, and it brings the sweet smell of Fatima's perfume and feels like a kiss. It's a sign he's going back. And his personal quest is finally, truly complete. So, what's the big takeaway from The Alchemist? At its heart, the book is telling us to chase our personal legend, that unique dream each of us carries. It's about listening to your heart, paying attention to the omens or signs the universe sends, and understanding that the journey itself is where the real learning and growth happen. Santiago travels all the way to Egypt, faces incredible challenges, and learns so much, only to find out his physical treasure was back home all along. But the real treasure? That was everything he gained along the way. Wisdom, love, and a deep connection to the soul of the world. It shows us that sometimes what we're searching for isn't a far-off thing, but something that's discovered through the pursuit and within